Welcome. I'm so happy to have you guys and be able to interview you and hear about your love story. So let's start at the beginning. Tell me how it all started. How'd you guys meet?
Do you want to tell or do you want me to?
You can tell.
Okay, so on my side of it, maybe I'll tell a little of my side, you can tell a little of his side of it, but my side of it, I had a hair company and I had opened a new cart in the mall. That's where the hair was sold on. And I got really sick. Every time I open a company, I tend to get really sick. And so my doctor told me, he was like, hey, Brigette, you need to either go on vacation or I'm gonna like put you in the hospital or something. You have to slow down. So my dad was going on a business conference. And so I went out with him to his business conference, which happened to be by this little town where my mom grew up and I had lived there and Mike grew up.
Yep.
And I was crazy sick, but my friends who lived there, they're like, hey, Brigette, we should go to this dance that's happening. It was a church dance, but you should go with us. So I literally was like downing Benadryl and whatever I could to just walk upright. I was so sick. And Mike asked me to dance.
Yep, I was hanging out and I was friends with her friends that she was staying with. And so we were just kind of hanging out and I saw this really pretty blonde girl from across the room. And I said to my friend, I said, hey, are you dating her or what's going on there? And he said, no, we're just friends. So well, I'm going to ask her to dance. And so I asked her to dance and it was hilarious. We were dancing and she says, I'm not going to sing for you. And I'm like, I didn't ask for you to sing.
I was a music major and every time I would dance with people, like, you know, at college dance and stuff, they're like, well, will you sing for me if you're a music major? I'm like, no, I'm not going to start singing in the middle of a dance. That'd be weird. So as soon as I told him my major, I was like, yeah, I'm a music major, but I'm not going to sing for you. I did not ask you to.
Yeah, I was living in the Bay Area at the time doing sales and he'd come up to visit my parents for the weekend. And so that's how we ended up dancing at our first dance. And after that, we kind of went our separate ways and didn't think too much about things until, I don't know, about a month later or so, a couple weeks, I had a wedding reception of a good friend and I needed a date. And the family that she had been staying with, actually, I had an interaction with them and they said, hey, you remember that one girl you met at the dance? And I was like, yeah, I think so. You should call her up. She's a really nice girl. And I said, okay. And so I called her up.
Yeah. So our first date was to his best friend's wedding.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Wedding reception.
Yeah. I got a wedding reception and Mike and I are unique because so that was our first date, right? Like that's when we really got to know each other, not at dance. And from our first date until the time that he proposed to me was 2.5 weeks.
It went from like a dance, not really talking to each other, and then all of a sudden marriage or proposal, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, because once we started hanging out, I was in town a couple days. And so he just like hung out with our family, went to San Francisco with us, the Bay Area, and hung out with us, went back to Reno for the conference with us. That's when you told me you love me too. That's like day 3.
Yeah, it was
Well, I mean, there's not many days in between meeting and then the proposal.
Yeah, it was pretty fast and furious. We literally, I called up my best friends and said, hey, I'm marrying this girl. They were like, Mike, who are you marrying? I couldn't even pronounce her name because her name is Brigette. And I was like, her name is Brigette, you know, but it all worked out.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
So Mike, then I guess, or both of you, when did you know? I mean, you had to say yes to this proposal, which was only 2.5 weeks. And then Mike, I mean, you had to decide pretty quickly because then you got this ring and you said, I love you after day 3. I mean, this is like so fast that like, yeah. I'm trying to keep up with this.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy because I mean, we literally didn't know each other. And honestly, I think we were both in different places in our lives where we had decided just to kind of, you know, be single and enjoy that single life for a while. But, you know, after our first date, I don't think we knew after our first date, but it was interesting. We went to dinner and as we were talking about our goals and our lives, it was interesting how we were quickly lining things up and agreeing on it. Yeah, that's pretty much, you know, how I think as well. And so I don't know, we spent a lot of time together. I mean, those 3 days were packed with a lot of fun times. And then I guess 2.5 weeks later, we got engaged after that. And yeah, I kind of just knew. There was a moment when I just looked at her and I just knew that was it. So
When we were in Reno, when he told me he loved me, I remember, so we said goodbye. It was like weirdly emotional because we had been hanging out for 3 days, but only 3 days, but we're really attached to each other. And I remember I went up to my room, I was telling my mom, I was like, he's pretty cool. You know, I was gushing, right? Doing all the like, he's amazing kind of a thing to my mom. And I get a phone call and it's him. And it had been like an hour later. And I was like, are you okay, Mike? And this is 20 years ago. So cell phones weren't, you had a cell phone. It was like your dad's cell
no,
phone.
I brought my dad's cell phone. It was one of the ones that was in a case with a cord on it.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a big deal. He was calling me and he's like, hey, I'm downstairs. Like, you're downstairs. Are you okay? He's like, yeah, I just got to tell you something. I just got to tell you something. So I went downstairs. I don't even know what time it is. I didn't know him very long. If you think about it, I should have been scared out of my mind, right? Like this guy in the middle of the night saying, come downstairs. I got to tell you something after 3 days. But I mean, obviously Mike's an amazing human. So I wasn't, but Mike said he got stuck in the parking lot and he couldn't leave the parking lot. You remember?
Well, I grew up outside of about 2.5 hours from Reno. I'd been up there a few different times, and where she was staying, it's just real easy to get back onto the freeway and go home. But for some reason, I could not get onto that exit. And so I drove around literally for like an hour, just trying to figure out how to get back on the freeway. And I just kept ending up back at the hotel in the parking lot. And it was crazy.
Yeah, that's really bizarre.
And like Boo said, I called her, and when she came downstairs and came out of the elevator, that's when I knew that I loved her. And I think for us, love is strong because it wasn't just like, yeah, I love you. It was like, I love you, and what does that mean from there? Like, it wasn't just a casual, I love you. It was, we have a future together now.
And when did you decide? Like, what, I mean, when you heard him say, I love you at day 3, were you like, this is a little much? Did you say it right back? Did you?
I don't remember if I said it right back. Do you remember?
No, I don't. Yes, no, she did. She did. I don't think, I think she's still trying to figure out if she does or not.
Whatever. No, it's kind of interesting because, 3 days obviously is crazy. And the other crazy factor is I was 18 years old. I had been in college for a year. I went at 17, but I was 18. And so I don't know if at 18 I fully comprehended everything going down in this moment, but I knew this human was amazing and that I definitely felt differently than I had felt about anyone else, in my dating existence.
Yeah, I mean, we were at interesting time. I mean, she had owned some businesses, as she said earlier. She'd gone to college. So I would say for being ready to be married for both of us, we had moved on in our lives a little bit. We definitely were just not two kids out of high school that were trying to figure it out. We had kind of, like I said, established some things in our lives that I think moved us forward a little bit more on that game. But when you know.
I mean, at 18, I don't even think I knew what a boy was. No, I'm just kidding. But like, it's like 18 it's young. I mean, you're still figuring out yourself a little bit.
Well, I can tell you we have a 17-year-old daughter right now. And I often think, how would I react if she were in this position? What would I be doing? I don't know. I'd be like, my mom was like, oh, yay. I don't know if I would be there for that,
Yeah.
But after he did that, he goes back to California. I go back to Utah, where I was living at the time. And we just started talking on the phone constantly. And within a couple days, you flew out.
Yeah, I flew we went to Lake Powell down in southern Utah. And the plan was to fly out on a Thursday night and come back on a Sunday to get back to work. And I didn't leave I didn't leave until, just to drive back, get my stuff, and then move out to Utah. So what started out as a 3-day weekend really turned into that 2 weeks before we got, engaged. We didn't get engaged upon saying I love you or anything. We just, that would have been crazy.
That was 3 days. That would have been even crazier than 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
But anyways, so we hung out. I mean, we didn't sleep. I calculated it out once. If you, say an average date is 4 hours or whatever it is. I mean, we hung out like 22 hours of the day. You know, didn't sleep.
Whoa.
We like didn't sleep kind of a thing. And, you know, so it was still really quick, but we really knew each other by the time I popped the question.
Wow. And you felt every confidence to say yes and everything like that.
Yeah.
And your parents, both sides were okay with this?
I mean, his parents, I think, were a little more hesitant because they didn't even know me. And like, I had been to his house one time, you know, in those 3 days, those initial 3 days, I had been like sitting on his couch waiting for him to get something out of his room. You know how you like pop in, grab a wallet or whatever and leave. And his mom had walked through the room and I was like, hey, I'm Brigette. You know, a little 18-year-old girl sitting there. She was like, okay, and kept walking. And that was the extent of their knowledge of me.
Yeah.
So it was shocking to his parents. Not as shocking to my parents because they kind of witnessed it unfold, even though it was fast, but definitely shocking to your parents.
Yeah. I would say that also it was probably was shocking. I actually had friends call me to apologize later about the reaction when I would tell them, you know, when I told them what was going on. But I would say we were so in love that it never even really occurred to us that it would be shocking.
It was like, why are you guys freaking
Why
out?
would that be shocking? It's what we're doing. It's gonna be awesome.
Wow. So then when did you actually get married?
So still crazy 2.5 months later. So we met in July and, you know, there was a little time between that initial first dance and then when we went on our basically 2.5 week date.
Yeah.
But we got married in October. So it was all like 2.5 months from the time we were engaged to the time we were married. It's great.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny. So I'm single and I'm dating and I'm doing the whole thing. And I can't even imagine like meeting somebody and then 2.5 weeks later marrying them. Like, it's gotta be such a crazy thing.
It was wild.
But really fun. And I guess when you know, you know.
It's not for everybody. I don't think everybody though. I don't think it's everybody would or could do a 2.5 week whirlwind. I think it's sometimes things are placed in your life and you just kind of know.
Yeah, and I definitely think, like Mike said, from our very first date, you know, he drove up and I had all my hair pieces in because that's what I did. I sold hair pieces at the time. So really long blonde hair. And he drove up and his old, was a Honda.
It was a cool car.
It was not a cool car. Didn't have any air conditioning. It's like 110 and he had the seat rolled by like he was so cool. And I remember like
It's the 90s, man.
It was the 90s.
It was actually the 2000s, but I grew up in the 90s.
Oh, but it's so that era. I mean, that's how everybody drove their cars. Like that was, yeah.
And with the seat, like I said, the seat way back. And I think one of the reasons that it was so good so fast is like he said, our goals aligned when we talk about long-term, like who we wanted to be, how we wanted to impact the world, what we wanted to do, you know, like I'm a deep diver, as Mike now knows 20 years later. Like we just dove all in and talked about the deep stuff and it all lined up. And that's rare, right? To find someone that you just instantly click with and the deep stuff lines up. And then I also think we were a challenge to each other. We had both dated quite a bit and had good experience and, you know, it's not always the best fit when someone just goes with the flow and does what you want to do. And Mike didn't. From the second we met, like, I'm not going to sing for you. And I didn't ask you to. I mean, it was like, whoa, there's something different here. This is a challenge, you know?
I mean, you guys both have to really know who you are as a person at that point. I mean, and that's a young age to know who you guys are as a person. So, and to feel confident and then not waver on that and bring that both to the table and bring it together to build a relationship together.
Yeah, we have. I mean, I like Mike said, I don't think it's for everybody, but we're 20 years in and it's been good for us.
No, it's amazing. It's wonderful to see. It's so, okay, so then the wedding and then kids or what?
Not at first, because I had a business. Mike was going to school. I was running my business. He was going to school. He was kind of doing some traveling with his job because he was working a job and going to school. And we decided to transition the business from hair to weddings.
Okay. And
so new relaunch, right, of the company. And we're in the mall and we're setting up the store. And I was so sick. And we just thought, oh, launching a company and Brigette gets sick, this is what happens. And then like 9 weeks in, it occurred to us that we were married, and so we could be pregnant. So like we took a test, we're like, oh wait, we could actually like be pregnant. Because we just weren't even thinking about kids. We were just, we were traveling a lot. I would travel with him for work. We love to travel where it's, you know, we like adventures. And so we hadn't even thought about it. So yeah, Olivia, who's like I said 17 now, she came on, but it was about 1.5 years into marriage. So it wasn't right away. And we were young. We didn't really plan on kids right away. We were good.
Yeah. We have 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, that's awesome. That's really awesome. I mean, it's hard to even say like, well, what was the first thing that attracted you about each other? But it was like, it was just kind of instantaneous almost, I feel like. I mean, you guys obviously had a really fun time at the wedding, which is such a funny time to have your first date at a wedding. Yeah. I mean, that's like no pressure there.
Well, I know, I remember thinking that, no pressure. And also weirdly enough, because like I said, he grew up in that town, my mom grew up in that town. I knew some of the people there. So it was weird to be going on this first date with this guy and having other people there to like witness it, you know? But it was interesting. It was fun though.
It was a good day.
Mike was like the life of the party. Everyone loves Mike. Whatever. We threw a luau this weekend, a murder mystery luau, and Mike was like the grand host. He's
How fun.
Yeah, he's a fun person.
But so I know you must have had some ups and downs and challenges that have come up. I mean, 20 years of marriage is a long time, especially being so young and figuring each other out still a little bit. So how are some ways that you guys like overcome that or work together as a team to move past those challenges?
I would say communication, just like we were committed to each other, like from the get-go. It's just keeping that same level of commitment, you know, and always understanding and respecting each other and our own thoughts, our own goals, and then being each other's ultimate supports. But even, you know, during any kind of disagreement that we may have, which honestly are few and far between, it's just, you know, keeping up a good, honest communication and a commitment to each other.
Yeah. And I think in that communication, telling each other what you need, like he'll often say to me, I need this from you right now. Like I'm frustrated, so I just need you to listen. Or I'll say, hey, I need some empathy here because I'm struggling. So, you know, I think in marriage, you get to know each other so well, but sometimes you still don't know each other that well because you're experiencing your own lives, your own emotions, your own experiences. And so it's really important to tell each other what you need from each other.
Yeah, it's very, very important to do that. Oh my gosh, this is such a fun story.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just still stuck on 2.5 weeks. I can't get past this part, like, because it's just like, I mean, dating is so different now. Yes, dating is different, but it's all the same. It's just, I mean, I guess it's all done on apps. You're not really meeting anybody, but did you feel more comfortable? Like I know on apps, it's random. You don't know the person's like, did you feel more comfortable knowing his family and vice versa, that you had mutual friends?
I don't think I didn't really know his family at all. And our mutual friend knew me pretty well, but they didn't know him pretty well.
Yeah, they didn't know, right.
Yeah, so I don't know. There wasn't really that to lean on. I think
it really felt like it was like this person and this person are meant to be together. You know, I mean, that's
like the energy was right there.
Yeah, I mean, I was booked in to go in, you know, back to school in a few months and, you know, and all of that. I mean, I had to cancel everything and move to Utah. So it really was just something special that happened between two people.
Yeah, and we often say and joke, like the second you say, I'm no longer dating or I'm no longer doing this, that's the day that you will find your person, because it's like something in you shifts where you're like, I'm good with myself, I'm good with who I am, and then you're ready to find the person that completes you, you know? But until then, and we both kind of, we joked about that a lot when we dated and we're engaged, you know, for our whole like 3 months, but like, we had both the week before we met each other, both separately and independently, because we didn't know each other, said to our friends, I'm good. I don't need to date. I don't need anybody. I'm just going to do my thing. And if I meet someone cool, but I really don't need it, I'm good.
I had some grand plans, man. I was going to golf all semester. We were going to hunt. I mean, it was just going to be, awesome.
Wow. It's almost like you just surrendered to like whatever. You're like, okay, here it is. This is going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know like it's hard to pinpoint like one thing that you love about that person. And I know it's probably changed throughout the years, or like, is there one thing that particularly like that you enjoy about each other, or that you like, I know it's hard to pinpoint one thing, but
I mean, I can go, I know for me, like one of the things I love about Mike is he pushes me. He's my biggest cheerleader. Like he'll say, Brigette, you're the smartest person I know, or Brigette, if anyone can do it, it's you. You know, like he believes in me 100%, which sometimes is very heavy to bear, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I can. But more than that, Michael called me out on my crap. He'll be like, you know, like that's not cool, or you're struggling because you didn't do this and this and this, and you know you needed to, or so he doesn't let me just like whine and get away with it. He'll call me out on it. And I know for me, I need that. To be my best self, I need someone who's willing to say it how it is and call me on it. It's not easy. Sometimes I really hate it and it takes a while to process, but I need it. So I know that's one of the things I love about Mike is that he is my biggest cheerleader, and so I can trust him when he calls me out.
that's such a like a hard balance to do. That's awesome that he's able to do that. And you're able to receive it.
Yeah.
Like you said, sometimes hard.
And
Yeah.
how would you, Mike?
Well, I mean, she makes me laugh every day. You know, she's got big beautiful blue eyes, and which, you know, always looking at me, and we just have a lot of fun together. And that's, I mean, that's really what it's all about. You know, it's just really, she makes me laugh with, you know, her goofiness that she is, and, you know, she's always willing to sing and dance and always kind of just have some fun. So I would say that's probably what
Have you guys ever sung for each other now? Do you sing together?
You know, sometimes we do. We've seen, so our house is very musical. Like I have a piano, I teach piano, I sang, you know, all growing up and stuff. Our daughter plays the guitar. So I actually just came across this memory a year ago yesterday. We did a live in our house and we had lights up and Olivia was playing the guitar and you and Olivia were singing.
Yep.
When you say nothing at all.
Yep.
And it was so cute. And so we were all taking turns singing, and so, you know, we sing together in church and stuff. So music is definitely a part of who we are and what we do. Mike likes to sing. He thinks he's a country music singer.
Well.
Really? You guys are like a whole band over there.
But yeah, no, we sing all the time.
You have like a whole band. Do you have a whole family that can now all your kids play or sing or?
No.
Now, mostly just Olivia. The boys, we have them in a choir. They go reluctantly.
Yeah. They love it, but then as soon as they get home, they say they hate. So.
But they love it. I think one of the keys to our success is not just that we're best friends, like Mike said, but that we allow people to be individual. Like I know Mike is an individual with individual interests and his own things he needs. And I don't expect him to tailor that to me all the time. And I also don't expect him to stay the same. I think a lot of times when we get married or get in relationships, we think someone's going to stay the same, but as humans, we all evolve and change. And so like, and that goes to the deepest levels. Like even if you talk religion or any deep held belief, like he is his own person, worthy of those own development and thought, and I am too. And so I think that's one of the things, that mutual respect for deep mutual respect for each other, that makes us work. And I see a lot of times when marriages struggle or relationships struggle, it's because they've lost that. Either they thought the person changed and how could they change? How dare they? Or they weren't okay with the growth that happens over time.
I think also you can create a unhealthy sense of balance. I think some people go into relationships thinking that, and I think that in some scenarios you're told that, or you're conditioned to believe that, you know, my job or her job is just to, you know, be there for your spouse and always, you know, whatever she needs and always be lifting her up. And I just think that can get unhealthy. And so one of the things that we've always done is that, I mean, we do serve each other, you know, in a lot of different ways, and we really do consider each other in all things. But one of the things that we also do is we understand that it's important to still have that personality. We support each other when and get excited for each other when, you know, I might have a hunting trip coming up or she might have a girls trip coming up. You know, we don't have the type of relationship where it's, you know, oh, I guess I got to watch the kids all weekend while you're going out with your friends or anything like that. It's, you know, I'm really excited for you. I mean, she gets excited when I go on the hunt. I get super excited for when she goes with her friends. I just booked for her birthday a trip for her to go visit with one of her best friends because it's important to maintain that. And I think one of the things that we see a lot of times with different relationships is when people can get in an unbalanced or unhealthy relationship when they lose, as Brigette said, their personality and their identity, but then they also don't realize that your partner also has the right to be able to have interests and have personality and change and grow, you know, as well.
It's a lot more fun to cheer them on.
Yeah.
It's a lot more fun, like Mike said, to get excited. And the other struggle that we've seen in that same world is couples where, well, he spent $20,
Yeah.
so I spent $20. He went on a trip, so I go on a trip. We just don't view it that way. Because if Mike goes on a trip, I could go on a trip, but I don't have to. Like,
Yeah.
and so I think a lot of times we've seen couples go in debt over that because they were trying to be even. And it's all about respect. If you respect the other person as the amazing human they are,
Yeah.
you're gonna be okay.
Yeah. I love that, the cheering each other on. That's so important. It's so key. If you don't do that, you're each other's biggest support.
Mhm. And if you lose that support within the walls of your own home, yeah, that's painful. That's real. So you have to be very protective of that, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, such good advice. I love it. Oh, this is wonderful. You guys are awesome. Awesome. And I'm so glad you guys found each other and can shine and light in this world together.